Welcome back to Know to Pro. Now, my name is Zach, and for those that don't know me, I am aiming to do something absolutely incredibly difficult. I am aiming to hit the Brisbane Olympics in 2032, and at the moment, I am very much an amateur athlete. It's not looking good, but what we're doing today, we're not looking at that. We're looking at how I schedule my training. Now, one of the first few videos that I released was how I schedule my training. It's a little bit different to what most people do. What we're doing is we're going to do a bit of an update. We're going to look at what I used to do back then, what I do now. And so actually I was quite recently on a call with Brant Stachel. Now he's quite a good, decent coach. He coaches some really fast runners. I can't remember any of the names because I don't really follow the pros too much. But basically, I'm going to look at doing three things. What did I used to do? What am I doing now? What has Brant said? And then I guess the fourth thing is, what from what he said am I going to incorporate into my actual training going forwards? So with that said, let's dive in. So what we've got here, so this is what are we going to say? This is what I used to do. So I would do one easy run, I'd then do a hard run, I'd then have a day off. Now, obviously, hard could be anything. Basically, it just means not an easy recovery jog. So it could be some sort of intervals, it could be some tempo work, some threshold work, anything really. A progression run. It just wasn't like an easy run. So that's basically all you need to know. Now, you can see it's pretty straightforward. Easy, hard, off. How does that form into an actual week? So what I've got is I've got a representative week here. So you can see there's actually 3 different weeks. So the first week, you start off easy, hard, off, and then Wednesday you got off. Thursday you're going easy, Friday you're going hard, Saturday you've got off. And then you're going easy again on Sunday. Now what happens is then, because Sunday's easy, then Monday's hard, and then off, etc. And so it repeats every 3 weeks. So in the third week, you go have a hard Saturday, you got Sunday off, and then you're back to week 1. So easy, hard, off, etc. With Sunday being your easy run and Saturday being off. But it's basically a 3-week block, essentially. So what you can do is you can structure it quite well. So what I used to enjoy is, do Saturdays, have like some sort of, it used to be just like easy long run on the first week. Second week, again, easy long run. And then Saturday, on the Sunday, you'd then do something like a progression run. Something not too hard because you've already done a long run on Saturday, but it would be a long progression run. So you're talking something that hour and a half to 2 hours, slowly moving up from like your easy pace to your threshold pace. On Saturday, when I had this third week, what I do is more of like a tempo sort of work, long tempo. So I'm talking like an hour and a half at your zone 3 straight, which is not easy. So, and obviously you build it up over time. You don't just start off doing an hour and a half. I think the longest tempo I've done is about 2 hours, which is pushing it, but that's what I used to do. And honestly, it was fantastic. I loved it. But what you see is you can see you got at least 2 days off a week. And then on the third week, you've got 4 days off. So 3 days off. So, if you want to build volume, you want to build pace, you're missing out on a few things if you do this sort of schedule because there's a lot of rest in between. Now, what I've moved on to more recently is a 6-day block. So what that means is instead of this third day being, off, you're basically doing an easy, hard, easy, off. And so what that means is you got your easy runs at either end of the week. You get 2 hard days in the middle, and right in the middle of the week, bang. Well, right in the middle of the block. Because this is 6 days. A week is 7 days. So we'll see it just in a little bit, just how the week changes based on which part of the cycle you're in. But yeah, so in the middle of this block, you got an easy run. So you're separating the hard days with a bunch of easy and an off day. So you're getting decent recovery, but you're not pushed. You're still getting more training. So in 6 days, you've got 1 day off. Whereas in the previous one, every 6 days, you've got 2 days off. And so over the course of a block, so the previous block was a 3-week block. This one, because the way it's structured, is actually a 6-week block, and we'll show that soon. But you do 7 more runs in those 6 weeks versus what you'd be doing in the previous one. So you do 7 runs in this block, So you got 7 days off in this block versus 14. So you can see quite a difference, a lot more volume. And so here we have it here. So you can see the first week, easy, hard, easy, and then you got Saturday as an off day. And it basically moves forward one day every week. So it goes from Saturday to Friday to Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, and then on the final week, you get 2 days off, Sunday and Monday. How good is that? But you can see in the first week, you've got 2 hard sessions. Second week, 3 hard sessions, then 2, then 3, then 2, and then back down to 2 again. Now, so you're always doing at least 2 sessions a week. Some of them, you get 3. More bang for your buck. I love it. This is probably my favorite structure of how I structure a week. Because what it actually allows me to do is during the week, because I don't know about you guys, but I get maybe an hour and a half to train. And I want to maximize it all. I want to use up all that train time. But on the weekend, that's where it really is at. Like, I can spend hours and hours out on a run. So on Saturday, Sunday, I can do 3 hours. I don't always do 3 hours. I very rarely do 3 hours. But that's the thing is, there's only so much you can do during the week. Whereas when you got more free time, that's where you make your bang. So what I like to do is split it up. So you can see there's, over the course of a six week block, there's 4 hard weekend sessions. Now, my favorite thing to do is to have completely different sessions each week. Now, each 6 week block, you can increase it. So let's say you're doing 18 weeks from now to your goal race. That's 3 different blocks. So you can do this 3 times. And so what I like to do is to have a different run here versus here, here, and here. So that gives me 4 different runs. Personally, at the start, I like to do something called a progression run. That's what you guys call it. I actually call it a tempo build. And what is a tempo build? So a tempo build is like, you start off easy. You start off at like your easy pace. And then slowly, you can do it however you want. But you basically slowly build it up until you go from your easy pace, slightly above easy, to then steady, to then tempo, to then sweet spot, to then threshold, or maybe you could even go above threshold. You can do whatever you want. But that's what the progression is. You start off really easy. Yes, every couple of Ks, every half hour, slowly building up the pace until eventually you're pushing. You've worked hard because you've got the fatigue in the legs. You've got so much fatigue in the legs and you still have to push hard. And then maybe there's another set and you got to go even harder. But that's why I love them. Progression runs. Tempo build, absolutely one of my favorite sessions. Now, what I then end up doing the week after is something called a long tempo run. So I like to do something that's really long. So let's say, I think last week, for example, I did a 2-hour run, 15-minute warm up, an hour and a half at tempo, 15-minute cool down. That's where you build your durability. That's what you work on. Now, for me, the tempo run, it was at 320 watts. Now, I use watts. I'm coming from a data and a cycling background, so I use watts. I don't use pace because where I live is very hilly. You're going up, you're going down. Pace is so variable. It is so, you can't just say, I'm going to run 5 minutes per K. Well, when I'm going uphill, I'm going 8 minutes per K. But when I'm going downhill, I'm going 4 minutes per K. It averages 5 over the course of the run. But at each point in time, I can't say I'm doing that pace because it fluctuates so much. So I use power and that ends up smoothing it out. So tempo run is really long. So I think I started at just 30 minutes. Warm up, cool down, 30 minutes, and then slowly built that up. And yeah, I've done, my longest one is about 2 hours. But at the moment, I'm doing about an hour and a half. And I think I'm going to push it even more next time. Now, what it then moves into is, that's what I'm actually doing tomorrow, is coming called a sweet spot. So this one is harder than your tempo. So sweet spot is kind of about 92 to 97% of your threshold. So threshold is what you can do for an hour. Sweet spot is what you can do for between about an hour to an hour and a half. And then tempo is about an hour and a half to 2 hours. So if you think about, if I'm going all out for 2 hours, you're not sprinting and then piddling along for the rest of it. No, you're going a consistent pace, but you're going really hard. And so for tempo, it's where you can do up to 2 hours. Sweet spot, up to about an hour and a half. and then threshold is what you can do up to an hour at that consistent level. So sweet spot, I like to do like 2 by sweet spot. So what I've got planned for tomorrow, for example, is 2 by 40 minutes. In my first 6-week block, I did 2 by 30. And in my next 6-week block, which is just before the Canberra half marathon on the 1st of November, it'll be 2 by 45. So you can see I've gone from 60 minutes of work to 80 minutes of work and then 90 minutes of work. But that's the sort of way that I like to structure it. Now you can see I've got 3 different ones here. What's the fourth one? Fourth one is threshold. Now next week it's got set at 6 by 10 minutes. And so sweet spot, threshold for me is something I can do for, as I said, about an hour. And so I'm doing 60 minutes of threshold. Previously I did 5 by 10 and that was actually pretty cruisy. It's about 5 minutes per K, just under 5 minutes per K, like 450, 455, 5 minutes, thereabouts. As I said, I don't really focus too much on the pace because elevation up and down, and it's a bit tough to say, I'm going to do this specific pace, and then you're going up a hill and it's like, well, I'm not going that pace, but my heart rate's exploding through the roof. So yeah, so that's why I stick to power, and I go roughly what my threshold is. For me at the moment, it's about 350 watts. Now, so that is, as you can see, that's how I like to schedule my plans. But when it comes to Brant, so he is a top coach. He's a fantastic coach. He's gone through my training and he's had a look and he's thought maybe we should make some changes. Now, I'm not going to take every single change on board. I'll go into it a bit as we go through it. But the way that I like to structure my training is different to the way that he likes to structure his training. And the thing that I've found, what makes the biggest difference is what you can stick to. It doesn't matter what sort of training you do, as long as you do it. That's the important thing. Stick to your training and you'll be good. As long as you don't get injured, it's all about consistency. And so this is what he's got set up for me at the moment. I've done a little bit of color coding because as you showed above, I like, off day is a blue, hard is in red, and then easy is in green. I haven't put the greens, but I put the blue and the red. Now, this is the sort of stuff he's got. So he's got 2 hard runs per week and 1 rest day. Now you can see the rest day is basically same day every week. This, I'm not going to keep this sort of schedule because I like to change up my training. My work day is pretty monotonous, and so I like something different. I like not knowing that Tuesday is a hard day. It could be a hard day, or it could be Monday. It could be Wednesday or Thursday. There's so many different, just having the way, as you can see here, having the day go from Saturday, Friday, Thursday, swap the days off. And then you can see in this 4th week, it's so leisurely. You go from an easy day, short day off, to a day easy, and you don't do any hard work until Thursday. And it's just like, the variance are fantastic. That's what I like. Obviously, that's not what everyone else does, because as you can see here, this is the schedule. But that's why I'm not necessarily going to follow this, but I do appreciate the sort of stuff he's given me. Now, when he's got tempo here, what he's talking about is not actually what I call tempo. So when I say tempo, as I said, it's about an 1.5 to 2 hour pace, or about your zone 3, the bottom of your zone 3. He's got it as basically a threshold, your zone 4. So what I will incorporate, now one thing I do need to bear in mind is I have no idea what's going on with my legs, but my weekend runs, mint, fantastic. But for some reason, I cannot do any intervals during the week. No idea what's going on. Maybe it's because I'm running at like 4 a.m. in the morning. I mean, I always run at 4, but it's just ever since my rest week a couple of weeks ago, it's just been, not too great. So I will do some of these workouts, but I don't know when, and I don't know how I'm going to incorporate it. Now, this 2 by 10, it's not too dissimilar to what so this sort of stuff is not really different to what I do at the moment. So now I'm going to pop my training just right here, and you can see it's not too dissimilar. So he hasn't actually changed the first week, but you can see he's got here 2 by 10 minutes. Now, I don't actually have any hard efforts, any hard threshold work until the first week of September. because I don't know what's going on with my body. So this was actually my first week in envelope. So that's basically a tempo run. Just think about 10 minutes of tempo in the middle of your zone 2. So it's not much to write home about. But 10 by 2 is your threshold. And so what I've got here, so I don't know how much threshold I can do. I don't know what's going on with my legs. But so for now, I'm just slowly building back in. So that's 20 minutes of work, and he's got 20 minutes of work here, and it's 2 by 10. Now, I wouldn't mind adding these longer sort of threshold works, because I don't really have that. So I've got obviously my envelope, which is my tempo work, my tempo, not his tempo, but my tempo. Now, it's, yeah, that's like longer sort of efforts versus the shorter stuff, and so I do plan on adding this sort of stuff in at some point. You can see 5 to 6 by 5 minutes, 4 by 10 minutes. You can see roughly 20 to 30 minutes generally of threshold work. As it gets long, 40 minutes here, 27 and a half, 35 minutes, 40 minutes, and as we go into the race. But what he has really changed is this is something that, honestly, this is very personal. I would not agree with this. But most people, he follows, I think, a Daniel sort of approach. He likes his really hard efforts. Whereas I follow, I'm not going to call it Norwegian singles, but I'm not a high intensity sort of runner. I don't like going much of a threshold. I would love to stay well below threshold and then just slowly push it up. And push it up in the way that I think is sustainable and minimizes the potential risk of injury. So I think the reason you train and why you're consistent is so you can run more. And what I've found is the more you go hard, the more likely you are to get injured and stop running for whatever reason. You get burnt out, you get too tired. But you can see, so what he's done, so this is probably something I'm not necessarily going to include, but 100% I'm loving these. I'll see what I can do about adding it to my actual training. In terms of the weekend work, so what he's done, so he's capped my long run at 2.5 hours. Look, I did 2.5 hours today, 23K. Now, when I'm training for a half marathon, it is what it is. Do I need to go more than 2.5 hours? Nah, I don't need to at all. That's potentially even too long. But you can see in my training, I've got 2 hours 40. Next week, 240, 240, 250. I'm doing a bit of a test here, so I'm taking it easy. And then 250, 3 hours. And I'm peaking at 3 hours. Now, why am I doing that? Now, the way that I feel is that more is more. If you can do more training, get more of an aerobic base, bam, more training is more training. And so I would prefer to actually keep building that up. Because when I did my Sydney, my Canberra marathon build, is that not having enough volume in the leg, it really hindered my performance. Obviously, the half marathon is half the distance, but if I want to go an hour and a half, I want to do a 90-minute half marathon. If I can do 3 hours, I'm half the time, so I can feel I can go a lot faster when I'm actually racing. So that's my theory, and I am going to probably keep with how I'm doing that. In terms of this, he wants me to take Saturday easy. Now, Saturdays really is when I can, I got more time on the weekend, so I can train more. So if I'm going to incorporate, say, like an easier day, I'd rather do that during the week. I would rather have an easier day during the week than I push it in the weekend. It's maybe swap these around, for example. So make this hard efforts on my weekends and then this easy run during the week as such. So he's got, 2 hard efforts and then a long run. That's not too dissimilar to what I've got. So if you look at this schedule here, 2 hard workouts and then easy run and then a hard one on the weekend. This has got 1 hard workout in the week, 1 hard on the weekend, 1 easy on the weekend. So, and this one again, hard during the week, 2 hard, 1 easy. So it's not too dissimilar, just the way it's scheduled and planned out is different. And so you can see here I've got, 2 by 40 minutes, that's what I'm planning on doing tomorrow, 6 by 10, and then as we then move into the next block, a 2 hours and a half tempo build. I'm swapping out the long tempo, which is a 2-hour test, but then 2 by 45, 7 by 10, and then we go into Canberra race here. But yeah, so that's how my week is scheduled. That's how I try and make sure that I can fit in every sort of training I can. He has added strength day on the rest day. Now, I would love to make it like, if I could do it multiple times a week, I probably would. I don't really enjoy it. So, generally, when it comes to my rest day, I actually skip it. And so I plan it in for the rest day and then I skip it. And that's not good. You should be doing your strength. It's a foundational part of your running. What I've managed to do at the moment, the last couple of weeks, is do it on a Monday evening. Just managed to get a couple of minutes. But will that continue? I don't know. Hopefully. If not, I'll chuck it back on the rest day. And that's one thing that we do align with is rest day. Now, that is how I plan out my training. I would love to know how you guys plan yours. Make sure you drop a comment below. Thank you guys so much for watching. And I'd love, if you have any questions about all of my training, how I schedule it, why I do it the way I do, let me know. And I'll answer if I can. I'll see you guys on the next one. Cheers.